This is Orange Nation Overtime with Steve Infanti and Paulie Sibilia.
Welcome into Orange Nation Overtime, everyone. Alongside Paulie Sibilia, I'm Steve Infanti, and another heavy news day around here, centered around Syracuse basketball. Some comings and goings. I guess we'll start with the goings. We knew Adrian Autry was leaving in some capacity, and now we know where he's going to.
Yeah, he's going to be at Virginia. Syracuse will have to recruit against him now. Autry, a very good recruiter, and UVA's got the funds, so I think that's a very good spot for him to land.
Very good recruiter from that area in particular, DMV area. He has ties with Ryan Odom. They spent time together on Seth Greenberg's staff at Virginia Tech before Adrian Autry came here, so they obviously know each other. It's an area that he's recruited and recruited well. Seems like a natural fit. And again, for everything that happened here, and I know fans were upset and disappointed and frustrated, but he's a good guy. He's obviously, a good coach. Maybe not a great head coach, and maybe he's not going to be a head coach again. But from an assistant standpoint, they see benefit to his recruiting ability, and he
knows basketball.
He knows basketball, absolutely. It's good to see him land on his feet. I guess is
I'm
my
happy
point.
for him.
Is my point. I'm happy for him as well. Glad he found a new job.
One game a year, I won't be rooting for him.
Or two, or three. Yeah. It depends on how the schedule shakes out. So the staff. We have been assuming all along that Ryan Blackwell and Lorenze were coming here. We still don't have confirmation on that. We still don't have confirmation on any of this, but reports have come out that there are two new names headed here to join Jerry's staff, at least two new names, Ryan Daly being one of them, coming over from VCU. He's a young guy, 28 years old, played his college ball at Delaware, and then St. Joseph's, has ties to the Philly area. He's been at VCU as an assistant coach for the last year. According to reports, he's coming. And then Jamal Brunt from Penn State, who has ties to the DMV area, he is apparently coming as well, according to national reports.
Yeah, and we've still got a few more spots to fill. It's now making me question whether all of Jerry's staff from Siena is coming, but we'll all find out together.
We will. And we should find out, you would think, by Tuesday.
Yeah,
right?
It's all coming out now. We should find out pretty quickly, I'm guessing, in the next 2 days.
We did check in with Syracuse University for what it's worth, and we were just told that nothing's official yet, and it kind of referred back to what Jerry said on Monday, which is they're going through the HR process, and, so there's no confirmation. Until it's done, it's not done, I guess, and that makes a lot of sense. The other report out today, I told you there was a lot, Mike Waters from Syracuse.com reporting that Syracuse and Niagara will play in an exhibition game October 24th at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo. So it's a neutral site exhibition game. Greg Paulus, obviously the head coach of Niagara. The KeyBank Center, that's where the Buffalo Sabres play. Big arena out there, and hopefully drum up support in Western New York for the Syracuse squad.
Yeah, and last year's exhibition, it didn't cross my mind till just now, but you kind of got a feel of what Syracuse was in that Buffalo game. They got out big on them, and slowly that lead went away, and they just eked it out at the end.
Yeah. And again, at the time we thought, okay, that was a good experience for them to have. And, I don't think you need to play your exhibition games at home. And it's good to expose the guys to, to a neutral site or to a road venue before the season starts.
Correct.
Speaking of neutral site venues, we did not talk about this yesterday. This news came out after our show yesterday in regards to Las Vegas and the Players Era Festival out there that Syracuse played in this past year. Syracuse will not play this next season, 2026. They're out of that tournament. What we can tell you is that the school has confirmed that they got paid, so that wasn't the reason. We just know that they're not going to play. We don't know the reason behind it. I will say this. Last year we saw it with St. Joseph's, where they had a late coaching staff change, and, as a result, it sounds like the festival said, we don't want you to come. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but Syracuse did have a coaching staff change, and my understanding is that you can get out, either side can get out of the contract if there's a change in head coach. And so Syracuse obviously has that. I don't know if it came from SU side or from the tournament side, but that is one at least plausible reason why they're not playing in this event.
And it's also a gauntlet that you don't want to fall behind the eight ball. What do I like to say? It gets late early.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to get.
I think
later.
Yogi Berra said that.
Yeah,
first,
you don't want to get late early.
Yes, right. You don't want to get behind the 8 ball, and that's a valid point. We saw last year, again, they didn't even really follow their own format. Syracuse went 0-2, and they were supposed to play a comparable team, probably another 0-2 team, and they got stuck with Iowa State because, what you heard behind the scenes was Iowa State's travel plans, and then they get blown out by the Cyclones. They go 0-3, and again, that had them behind the 8 ball there early on. But I do think that is partly why you're seeing these other games pop up. This game against Indiana in Indianapolis, this game against Providence in Boston, neutral site games against, Power
Decent
5
teams.
Opponents, right? Right. Indiana missed out on the tournament last year, but it's still Indiana, right? And Providence
they were first 4, right? From what I recall.
Right, yeah. They just missed out on the tournament. And Providence is a team that, again, they're not UConn, they're not St. John's, but with a new head coach there and Brian Hodgson, they could potentially, with the investment, move up into that top tier of the Big East. So I think that's why you're seeing some of these, additional neutral site games being added because the Vegas trip is not happening.
Yeah, it also means you're not playing Kansas, Iowa State,
right,
in Houston.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Can spread them out a little bit at least. So that's what we know about this schedule right now. We know they want to play Colgate and Cornell again. We know that they've got a game in the ACC SEC Challenge. They've got Providence and Indiana lined up. So that's a handful of games that we feel like we know, right? I mean, the Colgate and Cornell thing, not a done deal as of yet, but you would assume that they will be back on the schedule. Speaking of scheduling and tough scheduling, the SU men's lacrosse team has played a very difficult schedule. The women have as well. Syracuse goes on the road this week for both the men and women down to North Carolina. They're actually traveling together. The ladies are playing Duke on Saturday at 4. The men taking on number 2 ranked North Carolina at 2 o'clock. We had Rick Beardsley on our show today, the 4-time All-American. And we led him off by getting his thoughts on the last win for the men, the SU men knocking off Duke in what was a great game inside the Dome. We got his takeaways on that and so much more. We spent about 15 minutes with Rick Beardsley.
I mean, it's a great victory. Syracuse is, just like we were talking about, they're not on the descent. They're ascending. And I've used that word a lot in lacrosse these days. I think the defense is really locked in. I think they're injury-free. They've found, who their lines are outside number 22. Obviously number 22 is creeping up on a record. And so is number 35 and Bill Dwan about to take over me with one more point with career goals scored. And but I'll be honest, face-offs for Syracuse have been the big difference. And this week coming up, they're playing, quite frankly, what a lot of people consider the best face-off guy to come out of college in the last decade, and Brady Wombat, who is a upstate New York native, not too far from us in Rochester. Mullen has done an incredible job at the face-off X, and I think also, as I always have said it, Jimmy McCool right now is the team's MVP. I mean, he makes it hard on guys to score goals. So, it's a great win at Duke. I think the parity in college lacrosse has never been this high. I mean, look at St. Joseph's. Again, I know I'm bringing light to a team that's in the top, half of the teens, but they scored 2 goals against Syracuse in the beginning of the year, and now they're in the top 15. So it's a great testament to the way the sport has grown. And I think, the one thing that Gary Gate did well, and we were beating up on him early, a lot of people, I mean, I didn't personally, but a lot of guys were beating up on him. That RPI puts you right in the thick of things now. I mean, you're guaranteed in that tournament. They won't falter so badly as to get out of it, I don't think.
And this is the idea, right, with building such a difficult schedule. You talk about the RPI, but also putting yourself in positions where you expose the guys to some adversity, you expose them to late-game crunch time situations so that when they get into the tournament, nothing is new to them. Did you see a little bit of that on display this past weekend against Duke in that, they obviously lost a couple of games against Ivy League teams early in the year. They've played tough competition game in and game out. How much of winning that game against Duke was a result of them playing that tough schedule and being exposed to all of that already?
Well, let's just throw it out on the table. I mean, I've never been one to mince words. I think, their egos are what got them losses early in the year. Or, beat a Maryland team who is struggling right now, and then you think you're going to come in and wipe up on Harvard, and you get you take the L, and then you start to lose a couple more games, and then you're fighting for your life. I think it's admirable what the kids have done, how the coaching staff has, turned it around per se. There certainly was no lack of talent on this roster for this year, but it's been spectacular about the things they've done. And you are correct. You are battle tested. When you're battle tested during your season, whether you're nicked up or not. I mean, there's two schools of thought here, Steve. We were all athletes, right? So you play a tough schedule where you're in tough games, and then you get tough game experience. But what happens in those games is really simple. You get beat up. So you hope that because you're playing that schedule, you don't physically take beatings, because this is a physical man's sport. And Syracuse right now has had that great combination of just, they're kind of, like I said, they're forging high right now going in, and there's still some tough games ahead of them, obviously. There's no cakewalks, but playing that schedule is a risk. But when you do get through it, there's a massive reward waiting for them at the end.
Joey Spallina, 6 points away from tying Mikey Powell for the all-time record at Syracuse, 7 points away from passing him. Does he need to make it to the Final Four to kind of cement his legacy and cement the Tewaaraton and everything that goes with that? Or will he already go down as one of the greats in program history? Or does it depend on what happens in the month of May?
Well, I mean, he's going to be the leading scorer probably in Syracuse history, right? We all know that. I think that puts him in a good level. I do think a Final Four doesn't solidify him as a great. I think winning a national championship gets him towards it. It really does. I'm not trying to downplay the things or the people before him that played who were greats that won national championships. I just think you have to have that whole kit and caboodle. Now, winning the Tewaaraton Trophy is a whole nother ball of wax. The Tewaaraton Trophy can go to guys who've, Pat Spencer, they didn't even make it to a Final Four. I mean, that's just an award. I mean, I don't know if whether he wants the awards, the records, or the national championships. In my personal opinion, as an athlete who played at that level, who only went to Syracuse for championships, it's championships or bust. That is just your attitude. So, will he go down as a great? I'm sure he'll go down as one of, but will he be still in that top six right now? I don't know of Attackman, and I'm not trying to downplay what he's done at all. Please don't take it like that. I'm sure there's someone in his family that's going to get mad if I say something wrong, but I'm not. I'm just trying to talk about guys ahead of him. You got three pals. I mean, you got Lavelle. You got guys who've won championships and won Tewaaraton trophies and been multiple All-Americans and been first-team All-Americans multiple times. So I do think, yes, if he wins a title, you can put him up there in probably that top six of guys, whether, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. I don't know, because it's different eras, different times. I do think, I've heard the excuse where guys have said, look what he had around him. Right. Look what he has around him versus what other guys have. But then guys around other guys like Mike Powell, guys who were first teamers. Yeah, that's true. But they also cannibalize points. So, you can make 20 arguments, right? You can make 10 arguments that I'm the best defenseman that Syracuse has ever had, right? Because of my excitement, all the championships, but I've never won a defenseman of the year, right? So there's only been a few of them that have, right? So why do people put me up on that kind of defensive Mount Rushmore? For me, I think it's just an endless debate, but regardless of what points happen, what honors get, I think at the end of the year, that number 22 and his team will be happy with the national championship. And that's probably the ultimate goal now that we get thinking about it.
Yeah, no doubt. It's the ultimate goal. And so I guess with that in mind, what will be the keys to get to Memorial Day weekend? Does this team need to change anything, Rick, or are they kind of humming along right now and you feel like are there any weaknesses right now with this team that they need to shore up before they get into
midfield
May?
For sure.
Okay.
That needs to be timeout. Somebody's calling me. The short stick defensive midfield, they need some help. That I think I always have said this. Teams go really far in the playoffs with the best defensive midfields. And it is not coach speak, because offense wins games, defense wins championships. It is, straight up just the way it is. And that is not coach speak. So I think, but in this modern game, the middle of the field is so important, especially the way people pick on short sticks, that they're going to have to do a better job. I think they're just not as good as others. They've been late to slides. People have been picking on those guys. But if they can find a way to mask that little bit or Band-Aid that up, Syracuse, obviously, just like everyone else has been saying, it should be really in a great pattern, a holding pattern to win a national championship. But it also does depend on who you run into when it comes to seedings also. So, you got to figure that one out there. And it depends on matchups and a lot of things, Steve, going to win a national championship. Like I said, I've told people the best team I ever played on was the 1994 team that I had. There was 3 future first ballot Hall of Famers on the midfield. And because there was one ball for those 3 guys, and we didn't get along really well as a team unit, we blew a 5-goal lead. Me personally got beat for the game-winning goal in the semifinal in overtime. And I do appreciate that fan throwing the beer in my face then and telling me it was my fault. So thank you again for doing that. That was a bit of humility for me. But don't do that now, because I'm sure one of my daughters would knock you out cold. Guys, Syracuse got to clean up that defensive midfield. I think everything else is really, really good.
All right, one more men's question before we move on to the ladies. Next weekend, alumni weekend, John Desko will go into the Ring of Honor. How cool is it going to be, Rick, to see Coach Desko, take his rightful place on that Ring of Honor?
Well, I unfortunately won't be there. I'm, down here in Darien coaching, trying to get to another state championship. But I mean, it's so well deserved. If you could go back in time and just be a fly on the wall of those practices that we had in those 4 years, you can understand why Coach Desko, as he always used to say to me, we don't polish silver here, Rick, we polish gold. That was his line to me all the time. And, it is such a great honor and a great thing for a guy like him, who is not really in the public eye anymore, right? He kind of just lives out there in Camillus with Cindy and worries about his, about his kids and his grandkids. Timmy played for him, so it's great for Tim to see his father do that. But to get him up in the rafters, I mean, he was a first-team All-American. You want to talk about a guy who's given his life to Syracuse? He's one of those rarities. We don't get those old-timers anymore, right, Steve, that are able to give their lives to Syracuse University, right? You got to think about that. They don't have those guys anymore in these programs, right? I mean, I'm not even a coach, but I gave my firstborn to Syracuse, right? So I'm trying to do my best, but I'll never catch up to what Coach Desko is. He's a true legend, and he 100% deserves to have his name up in those rosters for eternity. And God, I hope it stays there for all of eternity, even through all the money changes and the dome name changes and whatever we do.
All right, let's talk about the women, Rick, before we let you go. They've won 10 in a row, and, we know how they started. Talk about playing a tough schedule like Gary Gates' men. Reggie Thorpe and the ladies, they played 3 top 7 opponents to start the year. They started 0-3. Those games were relatively close, and then now they've reeled off 10 straight. They're up to number 3 in the country. They're playing great lacrosse. What has changed, if anything, from the first 2 weeks of the season to where this team is now?
Well, I obviously have intimate knowledge of this because of Angela being on the team, unfortunately, out with an ACL. I think it has to do with girls buying in on a coaching. You got to remember, these seniors have had 3 coaches, right? Gary Gate, Kayla Trainer, and right now, Reggie Thorpe, and 3 staffs. And they're buying in to what that staff is laying down. Obviously, Caitlin DeFelice, the defensive coordinator, has been consistent through all of those coaches and done a spectacular job. That defense is one of the single best. I think Dan Guyette between the pipes has been excellent, but I think it's been the buy-in. From what Angela's kind of hinted at me, because she won't really tell me many things, because she'll say to me, Dad, it's none of your business. It's what stays. She'll tell me straight up, Dad, it's none of your business. What we talk about was we talk. Because I'm always just trying to learn. But, I can tell you this, culture has started to swing. Reggie, the Reggie effect has started to take effect into Syracuse. You know, a hometown guy, a guy who loves the place. The girls are buying in, and, you know, that's tough to do, to blend a culture into something that you didn't really have a chance to help build. And kudos to the women's team. I mean, crawling up to number 3 now. They may not be winning games in exciting fashion, but you know what? At the end of the day, people have seasons like that. They might eke out 2-goal wins, and it might be a grind. But at the end of the year, if they're hanging tough and holding a gold trophy, then man, who cares how much you won by and what it took?
Yeah, and I guess along those lines, I mean, do you think they are in the conversation for that? Are they?
Yes,
are they
I take my heart out of it.
Legit national title contender.
I take my heart out of it on this. I really do. They have the pieces. They have what it takes. I have said this from the start, and I think you guys know this. I always thought Dan Guyette was one of the best goalies in the ACC from what I watched all fall, because I was that weird dad that would sneak around and sit and watch practice because I live here, for Christ's sakes. And I got a chance to see. I'm like, damn, that girl's good. And you have a good goalie and you have a good defensive nucleus around him. You know, you got Molly Gusick playing really well. They have a great midfield of girls. Their defense is playing well. As long as they're winning draws, they're going to be okay. You know, Trinkus and the whole crew down there on attack has done a great job. And again, you know, also we have to give credit to Nicole Levy, right, who's the assistant coach, the offensive coordinator. You know, she's the day in and day out person on that. And, you know, remember Reggie being a man, he's not in that locker room, right, until he's told to get in there. So, you know, those women on that staff, Maggie Koch, Jen Levy, Nicole Levy, Jen Levy's the head coach at UNC, Nicole Levy, and Caitlin DeFelice, those 3 women, they've done an incredible job. And those ladies in that orange, you know, just keep going. And you always got the backing of this guy. This 4-time All-American's always got your back. You'll never sit in a line in a bar as long as I'm around.
Rick, last lacrosse question. I'm sure Paulie's going to ask you what you had for lunch. But in terms of lacrosse, big weekend for both these teams, right? They're both red hot. Men and women are they're traveling down to North Carolina together. The women play 4 o'clock at Duke on Saturday. The men play UNC, who's ranked number 2 in the country, 2 o'clock. This men's game, what does it ultimately come down to? We know Carolina's got a dynamite face-off specialist. What does this game on Saturday come down to for the men?
It comes down to what you just said, the face-off X. It is going to be who's going to get a chance, because these offenses can score. And I'll tell you one thing that Syracuse has the edge on, and it's the close defense. Carolina gives up goals. They give up goals, right? But they have a freshman goalie in Josh Marcus, whose dad was a former All-American at Hopkins, and he's doing unbelievable. But that Syracuse team has the edge defensively. I just hope, and I'm really looking forward to that matchup of the ages between John Mullen and Brady Wambach at the X. And it's going to be one hell of a crowd. There'll be a lot of people at that game. I mean, I remember when last time we played down there, when I was there was like 350 people if we were lucky. And I think 200 of them were just foreign exchange students trying to see the game. So I think that that's going to be an amazing game. I will unfortunately be playing Fairfield Prep during it, so I will not be able to watch it until it's over, but I can't wait to rewatch it and see the outcome.
What did you have for lunch today?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I was a thing called a little bit overweight when I showed up here. Tori was not happy with me after my first spring here. I really was never terribly fat, but I was bigger. So I have been on a faux keto, like a Fido type diet, and not the Cheeto diet like you get on every once in a while, Paulie. I eat every day boneless barbecue spare ribs for lunch, or because I'm just living in a pool house and there's a half kitchen, cold cut roll-ups. So that I had boneless barbecued spare rib from Beijing Chinese food in Darien, Connecticut. The woman knows me by name. I don't even know what her name is, but she knows when I call. 10 minutes, she says, and I go down there in 10 minutes. And it's not minutes, it's 10 minutes. And I go down there, I give her 20 and I walk out. She keeps the change and we're good. So yes, boneless barbecued spare ribs. But tonight, Paulie, I have made the deal with myself. I miss my beautiful wife, Tori. Okay, and my beautiful daughter, Viviana, who's doing awesome, and my beautiful daughter, Angela, and I'm here. I have made myself go out and be in front of adults every Thursday night. So tonight, I will take myself to Root Steakhouse, and I will have a slab of bacon, and I will have a ribeye bone-in, cut off the bone and sliced medium.
And to Rick's point from that interview, Paulie, both these teams are up to number 3 in the national rankings. They both feel Final Four good. They both feel like legitimate national title contenders as we go into the month of April. And, it's the stretch run right now of the regular season, getting ready for what really matters, and that's the month of May.
Do you think Rick knew we were going to use that interview again? Because now he's added a good point to that. He tells us what he's going to have for dinner. So it fits perfectly
when this airs
to the WSYR Plus.
Yeah, that's right.
He's mixing both crowds together. I like
well done by Rick.
It's a unifier.
Well done by Rick. We should touch on football here before we go. The big news this week, obviously, Calvin Russell's injury. We did hear from Fran Brown last night. He did not confirm what the injury was, although Pete Thamel later put it out there that it was an Achilles injury, which is what we had been hearing. He did, however, Fran Brown, after practice yesterday, talk about a timeline in terms of Calvin Russell's return.
I think the end of October, November, just if he heals the way that we think he will and that we're praying that he will. So I think he will be back in October, end of October, early November.
So there you go.
It seems hopeful.
I think that is an aggressive timeline. It probably is an aggressive timeline. I think if you're a fan, you got to operate under the assumption he's not going to be there this season. If you get him back towards the end, ultimately you got to do what's best for him and what's best for the young man's future. If he's fully healed and Syracuse is winning games and he can give them a little boost down the stretch, great. If not, you use it as a redshirt year and you come back the following season, as unfortunate as that would be.
It's National DIY Day today, Steve. So do you have
do it yourself?
Yeah. Do you have your wife out power washing or
not
fixing the roof or anything like that?
Not today.
It's also National Burrito Day.
Okay.
You like burritos? Yeah, you don't.
No, I mean, it's got to be basic.
It's National Ferret Day. You ever own a ferret? I've never owned a ferret.
No. Striking out
they're
here.
Cute. Peanut Butter and Jelly Day.
I like peanut butter and jelly.
Okay,
I'm more of just a peanut butter guy. I don't need the jelly. But I mean,
if you had to go one jelly.
Grape,
okay.
Yeah.
And it's National Reconciliation Day. So if you need to mend a relationship with anybody, do it today.
In time for Easter. It's a good time to do it.
Yes.
Okay, Paulie, thank you. We've got one more show this week.
I'm going to go out and buy a ferret.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
Of all the things to celebrate, that's the one you're going to celebrate.
I don't want to fix anything. I don't have any peanut butter or jelly in my house, so I'm going to go buy a ferret.
Seems like a natural thing to do on National Ferret Day. All right, we got to run, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For Paulie, I'm Steve. Enjoy the rest of the day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.